Ready to rumble.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. Welcome to Sports Econ 101, the show where we discuss sports topics from a business perspective. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my co-host, Bruce McGowan, longtime sports radio personality.
It's a pleasure to be with you, Edward.
Once again.
Yes.
And today's show is going to be kind of fun because of our special guest, Russell Jackman, who's going to join us in the next segment. And he's going to talk about Wrestlemania.
Oh, boy.
Because that's coming to the Bay Area here, and the economics of wrestling.
It's a big-time profession. It is a big-time concern.
So it'll be fun.
Yeah.
We'll kind of reminisce about old wrestling. We had Russell on last year. It was kind of fun. And this time, because of Wrestlemania, we thought, hey, let's have him on again.
And let's not practice any holds, though, when we're doing the show.
No. It'll be a no holds barred, as they say.
Exactly.
I still remember all those fun.
Yeah.
Just, don't try a pile driver on your best friend. That's a killer. Or the Boston Crab. That kills the back.
Or the sleeper hold.
The sleeper. See, I could never get into the sleeper.
Bearcat right with the sleeper.
Bearcat, yeah.
Remember Bearcat right?
Yeah, sure.
The sleeper hold.
Something Maine. The guy who
Moondog.
Moondog Maine. The guy who used to eat the turnbuckles.
Oh.
See?
That was George the Animal Steel.
The same guy?
No, George the Animal Steel was the guy who would go and eat the turnbuckles.
Eat the turnbuckle.
Oh, when Moondog Maine used to
carry a bone. He carried a big dog bone that he would hit people with.
Ouch.
Yeah, but he would foam at the mouth.
Oh yeah, and he would eat glass and do all sorts of other crazy.
His eyes go and he foam.
He would make himself into a human bowling ball.
Yeah.
He knocked down a bunch of trash cans in an alley. Yeah, he was not quite fully baked.
All right. So now, I found out, and it's silly me, I didn't realize this, but you can listen live on iHeartRadio.
Nice.
To the show. Yeah. So ordinarily, we were telling people go to Sports Byline USA, which is also good, but iHeartRadio, you can listen live.
I left my
From your phone?
heart. I left my heart on iHeartRadio.
Yeah, and from your phone too. It's much easier to get
it's much
to
easier.
from your phone.
Exactly.
That's true.
Okay. Nothing personal. Sports Byline USA. We love them. They support us and put our show together. And then today's trivia theme is more baseball. We had baseball last week.
Yes.
Bruce and I are big baseball people. Stay with us. When we come back, Russell Jackman will be joining us, and we'll talk about Wrestlemania.
All right.
Hey, that's our first little segment.
Sounds like a deal.
Surprised that computer is able to hold itself together.
Oh, after all these years?
Yeah, it's got the window made for Windows XP logo on it.
Oh.
It means it's been around.
Well, I was going to use my old 8088, but that I don't think that was going to work anymore.
We don't have enough room in this office.
Yeah.
Couldn't get a forklift to bring it up here.
That's right. So this is going to be for March 7th. March 7th.
Although I could talk retro computers with you, even just as easily as I can talk wrestling. Do a whole show on the Atari 800.
How about a Commodore 64?
Oh yeah, I used to work on those.
I never had one. That was before I got into computers.
I bought my first Atari in '81 and it still works.
Wow.
Go over to the Pawn Stars, you can probably get a lot for it.
No, those things aren't worth anything, except in my heart.
Yeah, exactly.
I got to get my old reel working again. I have all these old reel tapes.
Oh yeah.
Get them converted to DVD.
I know before they. I know.
Chance, they will degrade over time.
They will. Yeah, you're right.
Okay, you guys ready?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Again, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan. And in the studio here live, we have Are You Ready to Rumble? Yeah, we've got Russell Jackman to talk about Wrestlemania and the economics of wrestling. And Russell, I'm going to let you introduce yourself as to why you know so much about Wrestlemania.
Okay, well, first thing I'd like to mention, I'm not just Russell Jackman, but on select weekends, I'm also the most hated attorney in California, known as Buddy Sotello, Esquire.
That's right.
Wrestling manager for the Wrestling for Charity organization, which does wrestling shows for charitable causes, schools, military benefits. We'll probably be raising some money for kids that need help for medical payments this year.
And do you love being hated?
Yeah, there's nothing better than being a heel. In fact, that's most of the people that have played heels before will tell you that that's the most fun that they have.
Well, I gotta say, I've done a lot of plays, and this one play that I did, nobody wanted to play the bad guy because it was a church play, right? So I played Herod, the jailer, Judas, and Satan all in one play. I had to play all the bad guys. It was fun. I loved it. Yeah, exactly. Typecasting.
Guilty pleasure. Well, there's something about playing a bad guy. You get to sort of find your inner demon,
exactly.
I guess you could say,
Yeah.
and you get to do all those things that you never would have thought of doing, and just be politically incorrect. It's fun.
It is, although I make sure never to swear.
Yeah.
No.
I never use any kind of racist language or do anything off color in that sense. But to tell the truth, I was a disciple of guys like Andy Kaufman,
Oh, yeah.
and what he did in the Mid-South area, guys like Bobby Heenan, Jim Cornette, and they were able to do all their stuff basically with old-time vaudeville shtick.
Okay.
Stuff that Henny Youngman
Yeah.
probably would reject because it was like, that stuff is too hackneyed. But it's just perfect for wrestling.
Yeah.
Well, the best performers always learn to steal, but they do it surreptitiously, so that you don't really know that they're stealing. But they take it and they add a little bit of their own touch to it, and that makes it their own kind of special way of looking at things.
But you can also use the personal insult as a way of igniting the anger in a particular part of the crowd. I would always say Buddy Sotello's pockets of hate. There would be like these areas where I would know that there were fans that really hated me. I'd come up to them, I would point to their shirt, and I'd say, gee, a shirt like that is why JCPenney's will not go out of business. They get so mad, but then you just move on to another spot.
Some people are just looking for an excuse to get mad.
Oh, yes.
But do you get protected? I mean, because I could see some people, especially in wrestling, in the audience, drinking a little too much beer and having a little too much fun. And it's not like you're, 6'5", 300 pounds.
No, but my wrestler is.
Yeah, well, true.
So keep that in mind. But here's a good little mini story. I was working with a guy named Vinny the Innovator Massaro, and my shtick was I was his lawyer that was helping him copyright his moves, and if anyone copied his moves, we tried to sue them. And we were going to ringside, and my wrestler, Vinny, got thrown out of the ring, and right in front of one of these fans, and the fan took an entire, big gulp worth of hot coffee and poured it all over him.
Ooh,
hot coffee.
Yeah, it was hot coffee and poured it all over him, and he was furious, and I actually had to hold him back. Same with the security to keep from beating this fan up. And after the show, we found out that the guy was specially enabled. He was there as part of a group of folks that brought him there because he had Down syndrome and was not really capable of processing all this. And after we were done with the show, who was waiting outside for an autograph from us?
That guy.
Of course.
That guy.
Yeah, of
So
course.
he was sorry that he threw the thing on it. He just got so angry at what was going on, he couldn't control himself.
Got carried away in the moment.
Yeah, and so there is that, it's especially in indie wrestling, you don't have the kind of security and gates like the WWE. When you go to a WWE show, you probably have an easier time trying to beat up the president. They have so much security there, and now people are when I used to go to shows, they didn't have metal detectors in the front. They didn't pat people down, and so people did bring, first of all, their own booze, and second of all, bottles and cans. Oh,
yeah, no, it's okay. Your hand keep pounding on.
Oh, sorry about that. I get a little excited about when I talk about this stuff.
He thinks he's in the ring. That's right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
people.
Where's your chair to whack the guy?
We've got a couple here, but none of them are full. But I could do a lot with microphones.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's a lethal
Or the
weapon.
laptop, or the
Well, I'm gonna say
laptop.
on this side of the,
Or even the keyboard or the mouse. You can use the cord to wrap around your neck. You start thinking about how you turn anything that's around you into a weapon.
Yeah. It's part of the human condition. Well, I always thought that wrestling was good therapy because it allowed you to kind of take out your aggression. And the thing was, as a kid, I don't know how Edward felt about this, but I'd watch these guys, and they would just beat the living out of each other. But they really weren't quite doing that. But there's a skill to that. And pulling a punch or throwing a guy and learning how to land right. I mean, these guys are great athletes.
I will tell you this, and this is the truth. Okay, your average wrestling match, which is between 5 to 10 minutes long, those guys come out of that in worse shape than if they played 4 quarters of football on both sides of the ball.
Really?
Yeah.
Because if you add up how much actual continuous action there is in a football game, even in an entire game, it's like about 5 minutes worth of stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
And there's no place to hide. There's no timeouts. You're moving continuously. I once tried to do some wrestling myself. I rented a ring, a place called Slammers down in L.A. I wrestled with a friend of mine. We did some stuff on video. I wrestled so hard, and I was in much better shape back then. I wrestled so hard that I went into the locker room and threw up. Because it was that kind of like, I exhausted myself to the nth degree. And that's the only time I've ever worked out so hard that I've thrown up before.
Wow.
But lifting a human being up over your head and taking those falls and jumping and running across the ring ropes, that's like, you're covering almost like a football field's worth of distance, but all in a 20 by 20 ring. And
That's a very good point.
The continuousness of it, the relentlessness of it. People talk about rest holds and things like that, and there are moments where you can slow the action down.
Yeah.
But today's wrestling, you don't get to do that.
No.
The wrestling that you and I watched in the 70s, they would do that. They'd do a couple of what you would call high spots, and then they would work the mat for 20 minutes. Now you have guys instead giving a 20-minute promo and a 5-minute match. It used to be a 5-minute promo and a 20-minute match. But they would slow things down so that you could do it. Now the pace is so relentless to keep up with today's fast action and short attention spans.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a lot faster. I mean, I remember when I was
raw action.
When I was a kid, it used to frustrate me to have these guys like, let's say the guy who I was rooting for, he'd jump up and one foot would be up higher than the other, and then the lower foot would hit the ground, so that he was barely actually hitting the guy. And I mean, I knew it was staged, as they say, not fake, but staged. But it'd be like, don't do that, just jump, take all your weight and put it on.
Well, I remember the guy Ray Stevens. Yeah. This is a blonde-haired guy who was first of all, he was the villain, then he became the hero.
That's
so
right.
he used to do this thing.
The same thing.
Yeah, well, it's smart thinking. I mean, good marketing. But he would get up on the turnbuckle and go flying down on a guy with his knee into the guy's neck. Now, if you did that in real life, you'd kill him.
Same thing with a pile driver, like all your weight on a guy's head.
Well, you don't see those as much anymore because of guys who've really gotten injured doing that.
Yeah.
And you say about the head, somebody, landing with somebody on their knee, knee on their neck or whatever. The degree of difficulty on that is actually much higher than most people realize. And if the guy isn't in the wrong spot, is in the wrong place, or moves upwards or something like that, I've seen that happen. I've seen guys get hurt.
You might get a bloody nose.
I've seen guys break the femur of their leg by just doing a leapfrog over another guy.
Wow.
And they just land with their legs straight down and crack. Right there, right in the middle of the ring. So, I mean, I saw once a lady wrestler get knocked out just by running the ropes. She was too short, and the ropes hit her right on the back of the head, and she just, those ropes are steel cable with either a rope wrapped around it or like a garden hose.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's not the
pretty
solid.
Pretty solid.
All right, guys, we're going to cut to our first commercial break.
Already?
Yeah.
Wow.
Having too much fun.
Good stuff. When we come back, we'll get into the economics.
I will, I
promise. That'll be kind of fun and Wrestlemania here. Okay, so we're going to be talking more baseball here at the trivia break. Okay, who was the first player to win a Rookie of the Year award, then later take a team as a manager to a World Series title? Interesting question.
Yeah.
The first 3 emails, correct answer, win a free 3-day 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Email edward@sportsecon101.com. The answer to this question: who was the first player in baseball to win a Rookie of the Year award, then later take a team as a manager to a World Series title? Stay with us. Sports Econ 101 will be right back. Okay.
Is it Yogi Berra?
Joe Torre, maybe?
I'm not going to say.
I
will let you guys guess.
My guess is Yogi Berra.
But Yogi Berra, I don't think he ever took the Yankees to the championship because they lost in '64. They lost to the Cardinals, and then he was fired, I believe, the next year, and Johnny Keane was hired.
Man, you're better than him.
And then he went to the Mets, but they didn't win with the Mets.
Sometimes I ask hard questions. I'm really amazed how good Bruce is.
I don't know. I'm going to say Joe Torre.
Did Bruce Bochy get Rookie of the Year?
Oh God, no. Bruce Bochy was a good backup, very good backup, but that's about it. He was an all-field, no-hit kind of guy.
The catcher.
Yeah, very good one too.
I didn't know.
For the Padres. Right?
Padres, yeah. He was with the Padres, and he actually managed the Padres for 11 years. This is his 9th year with the Giants. So this is his 20th year managing.
Wow.
He'll be 60 years old this year.
Wow.
And it's not a surprise that he had some heart problems.
That took a lot out of him.
Yeah,
the postseason last year took
Gee.
a lot out of everybody.
Yeah.
Who didn't take a lot out?
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting to see how it takes so much Madison Bumgarner.
I haven't recovered from the 18-inning game on
St.
Yom Kippur.
Louis.
Oh, that was amazing. That was
exactly. All right, here we go. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan. We're having a lot of fun here. Trivia question at the first commercial break was, who was the first player to win Rookie of the Year award, then later take a team as a manager to a World Series title?
Well, I'm gonna take a wild guess and say Joe Torre.
No,
No.
not Joe Torre.
I thought Yogi Berra, but I might be wrong.
You are wrong.
Oh, no.
Keep going.
Alvin Dark.
Alvin
Dark was not on my radar.
1948 Rookie of the Year with the Boston Braves,
And that's
the
right.
Oakland A's manager in 1974.
Good one. Yeah, and of course Alvin Dark managed the San Francisco Giants to a World Series as well, and but he just passed away last year. As a matter of fact, he was 93 years old. Quite a storyteller. They used to call him the Swamp Fox because he knew that the only way to slow down the Los Angeles Dodgers when they came to Candlestick was to water the infield down to the point where where Maury Wills couldn't get a good jump off first base, and so they, the Dodgers are complaining, it's like a swamp out there, so they called him the Swamp Fox.
Now all you have to do to beat the Dodgers is show up.
Yeah.
I don't know. They're going to be pretty.
They'll be good. They'll be good. Yeah.
They'll be good.
But,
Okay, so we're in the studio here with Russell Jackman, a.k.a. Buddy Sotello.
Now I got to ask Russell a little bit about your connection to wrestling. How did this whole thing happen anyway?
I've loved wrestling from pretty much the very beginning, like back to when you guys were talking about the Roy Shar days of the 70s, Pat Patterson, High Chief Peter Mavia, Pepper Gomez.
Pepper Gomez. I
Rocky
love
Johnson
Pepper Gomez.
was
Baron von Raschke.
Red Bastien.
Yeah, Red Bastien.
Haystack Calhoun.
Haystack Calhoun was there.
Ray Stevens.
Yeah, Ray Stevens. Well, I really love Ray Stevens. He and Pat Patterson and the Crippler and the Bruiser, Dick the Bruiser, they were all like larger than life, almost cartoon characters as human beings.
And Pat was a bad guy who turned into a good guy.
And Ray also. Ray.
Yes.
And of course, Bearcat Wright was my favorite because he'd put on the sleeper hold and he'd literally, I guess he'd knock a guy out.
Does that really work?
It's a police hold. It's constricting the carotid artery. And for instance, there was a time when Hulk Hogan was on a TV show. I forget the name of the talk show host, but he put a front face lock on him for about 30 seconds, more like about 10 seconds, and he passed out inside his arm.
Whoa.
And when he let go, the guy just fell right to the floor and cut the back of his head.
Ouch.
It was a total accident. He wasn't even trying to do it, but it just, if you get your oxygen cut, if you get the blood cut off in the right way, it happens in MMA matches too, where guys will just get that naked cross-face choke from behind. And that's another thing too, is that I love combat sports. I love combat. I was a big fan of boxing growing up, and I loved the martial arts, and I studied jiu-jitsu myself, and I was working on getting a brown belt before I got a shoulder injury. So that is one of the things. Before I got into the ring, I took a lot of falling, and I learned how to fall, and that's maybe the most important thing. Everyone in wrestling thinks, oh, well, when I get in the ring, I'm going to do a pile driver, and I'm going to do a clothesline, and I'm going to drop kick. Well, it's not the offensive moves that make you. It's how you take the moves yourself.
You can't be just offense the whole time.
No,
That's
you
not
can't.
gonna work.
No, you can't. And when you do take a big fall, can you get back up again?
Yeah.
Because if you can't,
when
you
they stage
lose
this
out.
do they determine ahead of time who's going to win? Do they decide? Okay.
Yeah, they usually they say who's going to go over. They're going to say you're going. The promoter will go to the wrestlers and say, in most cases, you're the one that's going going over.
The other guy says, "Wait a minute, how about me?" Or
they're going to say the fans think you suck. They're going to say that you haven't earned your rights. You just got here, or maybe you've been here too long, and the fans don't care about you anymore.
Wow.
So this is the way for us to get you out of this feud and get you into another feud that'll make you more popular, or you can help bring up someone that's in the lower ranks that's trying to work himself up. Maybe we'll work you around to a title. There's always these storylines that are going on in the background, and they're supposed to be complicated things. Although I'd say that recently with the WWE, a lot of these storylines have been oversimplified, and that's one of the reasons why people are complaining about it. There was a huge problem with the Royal Rumble, with the results of the Royal Rumble. Someone won that the fans didn't really want to win, and the guy that everybody wanted to win didn't win, and so Daniel Bryan didn't get over, and Daniel Bryan's the guy that was with Hunter Prince when they were going, yes, yes, yes. He's the guy that came up with the yes, yes, yes chant, so he's very popular. They were going to put it on Roman Reigns. This is all soap opera stuff that you don't really need to know about, but just to know that it used to be the way it worked with Vince McMahon, to work it into financial stuff, is that Vince McMahon used to totally run the kingdom himself.
Yeah.
You know, whatever he wanted, he could get done. But when he went public, when he made the WWE a public company, that changed the dynamics of everything.
So it used to be a private company,
Yes.
and you decided to raise money by going public.
I wouldn't even call it a company. I would call it more like a fiefdom. I would call it more like, you know, the way that a king would serve over the peasants of a particular. Because wrestlers had no real way of it was really my way or the highway with Vince
sort of
McMahon.
like Don, it almost seems like Don King with the boxing. You know?
Yeah.
Worse.
Worse.
Because there was a time where, if you pardon my French, but it was true,
Don't swear.
Vince McMahon had the Kiss My Ass Club.
Okay.
Where he had wrestlers on TV go and kiss him on the butt for various reasons if they didn't do things that he liked. So,
Wow.
What's his background anyway? Was he a wrestler himself, or
sort of. His father, Vincent McMahon Sr., ran the Worldwide Wrestling Federation, the WWF. And when he died, Vince McMahon had the idea of consolidating the territories like they were when we were watching when it was younger, and there was the AWA and the NWA and other regional territories, but not really a large national promotion that was going on. The NWA existed, but they didn't do anything really here on the West Coast that was very solid and reliable. They were more involved in the South. So Vince McMahon united all this stuff and made it one giant company, and then had a lot of ideas of how to make it popular to the general populace, which then led to the super event called Wrestlemania that we're working our way towards.
Yeah.
And I saw the very first Wrestlemania over on closed circuit at the Civic Auditorium in San Francisco, and that place was packed. And I got to say, up until that moment, I had seen Niner games, I'd seen Warriors games, I'd seen Giants games. I'd never heard an arena louder than when Hulk Hogan got the pin on, when Hulk Hogan and Mr. T beat Roddy Piper and
Mr. T, I forgot about that. That's right.
Tell us a little bit. I'm curious about Hulk Hogan. What kind of a guy is he? I mean,
well, I've never met him. So
okay.
I
mean, what do you
can't
hear
tell
about him? He seems like a nice guy. He seems like a nice fellow.
It depends on really, I think, at what stage you really got to know him in his life, because I think now he's kind of a hack. I mean, he's lost a lot of money because of the divorce that he had.
Yeah.
His wife is with a 19-year-old.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, it's all very strange. I mean, his daughter was super popular. Now nobody wants to mention her at all. And
so he's had his moment in the sun and it's gone.
Yeah, and a lot of these wrestlers, they don't know what to do when the moment is gone. You know,
that's tough.
I mean, you'll see Hulk Hogan pushing Rent-A-Center and pushing like auto loan companies, and nothing that's major. Not he's not on the cover of Wheaties box. He's really pushing some very Hulk Hogan's
what, 60-something years old?
Yeah, he's run some pasta restaurants that failed, and he's written a bunch of different books that nobody bought, and it's when the spotlight is off of these guys, a lot of them don't know what to do. In fact, there's a TV program called Total Divas.
Oh, I've heard of that. Yeah.
Well, the last couple of shows have been dealing with Jim the Anvil Neidhart, who was an Oakland Raider, right? I think he was.
Name doesn't strike a bell, but that doesn't mean he wasn't part of the team.
And he has just totally let himself go.
Wow.
And the WWE is trying to, really actually get involved in his rehab treatments now, which is something they haven't done for a lot of wrestlers. And then, of course, guys like the Ultimate Warrior die days after giving a presentation at last year's WrestleMania. So I think
that's right.
Vince is not.
And then Macho Man had died some years back.
Yeah.
And now the Beautiful Elizabeth died. She did an overdose of drugs and alcohol.
Yeah, and Chris Benoit and everything that happened with him. So
we hear this a lot in pro sports. A guy who steps away from the game and that's all they ever had. Suddenly they just take it. I remember hearing the story about Rodney Richard. You remember the big, tall right-hander who pitched with the Houston Astros, threw 100 miles an hour, and then he had a series of strokes and was washed out of baseball. He was living under a freeway for a while.
Yeah,
so it's really sad. I mean, you hear these stories, and these guys are just like anybody else. They have maybe they're one-trick pony, and when it goes away, it goes away.
Chad Ochocinco, talking about you.
Yeah.
How long is the average wrestler realistically able to wrestle?
You know, that's a really good question because it really, more than any other business, I think that it really can be a long career or incredibly short. You're on the hook for your own insurance and your own health care. And Vince McMahon treats you and every indie wrestling fed and even the other wrestling federations, basically you're on your own. You get paid what you get paid, and that's it. There's no benefits, there's no health care. And if you miss work, then you're not getting paid anything at all.
Well, you miss it because you got injured.
Oh, yeah, and these guys are relentless. I've worked with guys in the indie scene that will work on a Friday night, they'll work on a Saturday afternoon, they'll work on a Saturday night, and then they'll work on a Sunday afternoon.
All wrestling?
And they'll drive from Los Angeles to Northern California up to Oregon and then back.
Oh,
For how much money?
Probably between $50 to $100 a show.
wow.
It's just an investment for the future.
Just a love of labor of love.
Correct.
It sounds like.
Okay,
Correct.
hey guys, we're going to cut to our second commercial break here. God, interesting stuff. Okay, baseball again. Who was the MVP of the 1960 World Series between the Pirates and the Yankees? All right.
Good question.
Stay with us. So that's the first, the first three emails with correct answer. Win a free 3-day two-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Email Edward at sportsecon101.com the answer to this question. Who was the MVP of the 1960 World Series between the Pirates and the Yankees? Stay with us. The Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back.
I'd say Bill Mazeroski. He hit the game-winning home run, but I'm not sure. You know, it's
That's
funny.
something that happened within my lifetime.
How old are you?
I'm 47.
Oh, you're just a kid.
Still
See,
Not-
I'm
not according to
almost
my kids.
63. I'm
Not-
almost 63.
Not according to my kids. I'm not.
Oh yeah. Oh, wait, you got? I got a 10-year-old, believe it or not.
I got 3.5-year-old twins.
Oh, sweet.
Oh.
So I'm really
Oh,
worn
girls?
out. No, a boy and a girl.
So those your kids?
Yeah.
Now
Oh,
you're
you
done.
started late too. That's
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, it is good. I had my kid when I was
It's gotta
50,
get-
almost 53,
Wow.
and she's just a doll. I just
Wow.
have so much fun with her. And the nice thing is, I only work part time now, so I'm around her. Like right after we're done with the show, I'm going to pick her up at the in-laws, and she's our only, so it makes it easier. And
Oh yeah, it's easier with just one. I'll
Well,
tell you that.
and having twins, I would think
That's
that's
gotta be-
probably easier than having them staggered because
Yes.
they're the same
we
age.
weren't going to have more than one kid.
Yeah.
So we weren't planning.
Wow.
So
One and
yeah.
done.
And now you're done. Yeah. Well, now
Oh
you
yeah,
have to
I
one
was
each.
done already. I was done with when the first one came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, you change your life.
Look it up.
Yeah, exactly.
See, this guy did the normal thing. He got married in his 20s, had kids in his 30s. See, that's what most
Well,
people
I was
do.
almost 30 when I got married.
Yeah,
So
I'm
close
trying to
enough, yeah.
palm off one of my two kids to somebody, but so far.
No takers.
No takers.
Okay.
All right.
There was some more good economic stuff that we were talking about.
Oh yeah, I have lots. We
Okay,
just
good.
get so
This is our last
sidetracked.
segment to do a major
Oh
thing.
my gosh. Okay.
So that's
Okay.
fast.
I promise I'll
That's
talk
okay.
about
Okay. No, you're doing great.
having a lot of fun.
Well, welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Again, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan. When we cut to the second commercial break, we asked this trivia question for all the old timers. Who was the MVP of the 1960 World Series between the Pirates and the Yankees, which was a very famous World Series?
Yeah, well, I'm an old timer, and I remember watching that. I was 8 years old at the time, and it was the first time I really watched a World Series. My dad was a huge Yankee fan. The Pirates won that series, by the way, but they were outscored. I think they were outscored something like 54 to 27 runs. They were out hit. The Yankees won games like 12-0, 10-0, 16-3. The Pirates won 3-2, 5-2. They won the last game 10-9 on Bill Mazeroski's game-winning homer at Forbes Field. So I'm going to say Bill Mazeroski, but I'm not right. I know.
You're not right.
No, it's got to be somebody. Is it a pitcher?
No.
It's not Roberto Clemente.
No.
Not Bill Verdon.
Nope.
Not Don Hoke.
Nope. You got 23 people left to go. Go ahead. Anything you want to know?
Not Smokey Burgess.
Not Smokey Burgess. I'll tell you, he wasn't on the Pirates.
Oh, it was the Yankees. It was Mickey Mantle.
No, it wasn't.
Yogi
Mickey
Berra.
Mantle. No.
Roger Maris.
No.
No. Clete Boyer.
No.
Tony Kubek.
Keep going on the
Whitey Ford.
No, keep going on the infield though. Who
Oh,
played second base?
who played second base? Not Kubek. Bobby Richardson.
Bobby Richardson.
Yeah, because
That's
Bobby
correct.
Richardson had 6 RBIs in one game at a grand slam and a 2-run homer.
That's
and the Yankees-
They decided
oh
he was
my
the
God.
MVP, even though they didn't win the World
Bobby
Series.
Richardson was very much involved in the Fellowship of Christian Athletes as well.
Oh, that's right.
And I ran into him about 10 years ago at a Yankee Giant old-timer game to celebrate the 1962 Yankee Giant World Series. And what a storyteller this guy was.
No,
Great
okay.
guy. And he looked great, too. I think
Did
all that clean living, you know?
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll do it.
Yeah.
So we are still in the studio here with Buddy Sotello.
I like that. I like that.
a wrestler's
It's a good name
most
for a
hated,
wrestler.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is the most hated attorney in wrestling.
So you represent these guys, or is that just a part of your shtick?
Well, it's part of the shtick, but I actually have helped some of these guys out with advice on various things, from everything from sometimes getting arrested to sometimes.
You sure that's how to get arrested?
No,
Yeah.
but they get into fights and things like that.
So you're in the ring. You're kind of sort of almost like a coach. You're sitting there and you're encouraging them, and also
Yeah, like Paul Bearer, remember him?
Oh yeah, antagonizing the fans, right?
Yeah, the antagonizing the fans is important because
Yeah.
when they do those rest holds or they're slowing things down,
Oh, yeah.
you don't want the crowd to just suddenly go mild. That is like the
good
biggest.
point.
That's
Good.
the worst
Oh.
thing. You want the tempo to stay up. So that's usually my cue to go and start taunting the crowd and get
well,
the
that's what
crowd
the
work
spotlight
back up.
comes on you. That's
Sure,
right.
and then I cheat. I will get involved and either distract the referee or sometimes distract the wrestler or grab a foot.
Now, do
or
you tell the referee ahead of time you're
Yes.
going to be doing exactly like when
referee
you're
is
doing it?
very important for that.
Yeah,
Referee is very
Of
important.
course, I mean, because obviously there are times when guys doing a real big choke and all the fans going wild,
Yeah.
and the referee's like just pointing his finger at someone.
Yeah.
Now, don't you do that again?
Referee
He's
is a
paying
major
attention.
part of your cues.
Okay.
So you're looking to the ref. When the ref does something, that's when that's when I'm getting on the apron, or that's when I'm going to trip the guy's foot. It's sometimes hard to. The wrestlers will sometimes improv stuff in the ring and change what they're doing, but the ref never does.
Do you wear some kind of clothes that sort of wild-looking
Yes.
outfits? I would
Yeah,
think. Yeah.
I have my Sotello suit,
Uh-huh.
which is the full-on lawyer garb with my suspenders that I say
The
I got
galluses,
from.
yeah.
Well, I got suspenders that I got from my good friend Larry King. I always
Oh,
say
there you go.
Larry King he's my client, and he gave me those suspenders.
Hello, America.
Then I have my retired buddy suit, which is I lost a retirement match, so I had to stop being a lawyer and stop going to the as my Sotello suited self. So I have one that's made of like Bobby Heenan that's got like the embroidered back.
I love it.
And,
I love it.
and then I have the very rare, and now that I'm in my 40s, I don't do this anymore, but I have my Battlin' Buddy outfit, which is I have like these like sports goggles and arm pads and knee pads
Sweet.
and elastic shorts and high top shoes.
Ready for action.
Yeah, and those fingerless gloves,
Yeah.
weightlifting gloves. So I have my Battlin'
Wow.
Buddy persona too.
How many of these guys? I got to ask you. How many of these guys were good athletes in high school and college? I mean, they played other
All of
sports.
them.
All of them.
All of them.
Football, basketball, whatever.
Either they were all amazing athletes,
Yeah.
or they have a psychotic, I'm talking amazing, superhuman level of punishment absorbed.
They can take a lot of pain.
I know we want to get to financial stuff. I got
Yeah.
one other quick
Yeah.
story,
Go ahead.
Sure.
which is Vinny Massaro. We're sitting there before one of the matches, and he's bored, and so he takes out a stapler, and he staples his arm.
Oh,
And
my.
that was in
He
their
just
movie, The
staples.
Wrestler, with
With Mickey Rourke.
But he just
Yeah.
does it just for fun. He just staples it. And I thought, oh, well, it's a gag. The staples are bent. They're not going into his arm. Then he takes a pen cap and he pops each one of them out.
Ooh.
Little rivulets of blood comes out of each hole that he put in his arm. These are guys that will get tattooed at a moment's notice. They'll get pierced, everywhere. Pain for them is a badge of honor, and they'll tweet or Facebook their scars from a particular match online as soon as they're done wrestling to show everyone, oh, look at what happened to me.
Open up a bottle with your mouth. That kind
Oh
of thing,
yeah,
too?
or their eye socket. How about
Oh,
that?
I've heard about that.
They can do
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit about the financial stuff
Sure.
before we run out of time. In WrestleMania 29, okay, I have a question to ask for you.
Yes.
What do you think the financial impact of WrestleMania is on the Bay Area when it was? What do you think?
Well, I would think that we don't all live in Tennessee, but there's a fair amount of people who are interested in wrestling. It's an interesting sport, and even if it's staged, it's very interesting. I don't know where is it being held?
It's at Levi Stadium.
Okay, so you're going to get 70,000 people?
Probably.
Do you think it'll pack out?
Yes, it always does. It's the
And
closest
how much
one.
are tickets?
Anywhere between like maybe 75 if you're way up at the top
Really?
to like $350
Ooh,
down
That-
below.
God, that's even more like a Warrior game.
But
That
there's
sounds
only
like a-
one.
yeah.
There's 41 Warriors games that you can go to.
Yeah, that's
There's
true.
one WrestleMania you can go to.
How
When
many
you-
wrestlers are in that?
I'd say all of them, but no,
Oh.
there's probably like about 30 wrestlers involved total.
And is it 4 hours worth of
Yeah,
wrestling?
yeah, it is. And there's going to be musical acts
And
and
then
other
you do
stuff.
the cage at the end or something?
It might be. I don't think there's a cage match involved in this one, but But and when you say that wrestling is kind of popular around here, WrestleMania draws worldwide.
Yeah.
And so the people that are going to be coming to WrestleMania, probably the vast majority of them will not be from the Bay Area. Unlike a Warriors.
Is it like the Super Bowl? It's like
yes.
once a year?
Yes, and it's the big event. So if you would think, well, okay, maybe $100 million would be a pretty good take.
Sure.
Then you'd be 3 years ago.
Wow. No, I guess pay-per-view.
2 years ago, it was $102 million for WrestleMania. Last year's WrestleMania for New Orleans generated $142 million for the city of New Orleans.
Now that's just game receipts, people staying overnight, buying food, whatever.
And 70,000 people.
Wow.
That's gonna
Yeah.
the
estimated, from what I've heard, the estimation is about $200 million. What is the financial impact of what? And when people complained about, hey, it was so stupid for the city of Santa Clara to build $1 billion stadium, well, you're getting 20% of it basically back. Thanks
one
to
event.
one event.
Yeah.
And then you think the Super Bowl is going to be there too. They might wind up in the plus side, after 2 events. Because the Super Bowl is going to generate probably about $300, $400 million.
I was going to ask you, compared to the Super Bowl, how much...
I think it's pretty comparable.
Yeah, because if they can only hold, let's say, 70,000 people, then assuming that 70,000 people are going to, if they're coming from all around, they still have to stay somewhere.
I would assume at the Super Bowl and WrestleMania, you probably get 70% of your people coming from out of town.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Or maybe more like 90%.
Really?
Yeah, in this instance. Because wrestling isn't the hotbed of the Bay Area. There's still lots and lots of wrestling fans, but maybe most of them don't want to pay $350 for a seat.
Sure.
But if
Are you going?
No, unless I'm lucky enough to find a way in there, that I can't afford $350.
What? You're Buddy Sotello.
I will say though, I was personally at WrestleMania 2 though, down in Los Angeles.
How come you're not like being one of the?
I might have an
managers
inside.
or
I might have an inside.
Get the
way
great
to
Khali
slide in
again.
there. Oh yeah, he's retired. I used to manage I did manage the Great Khali once.
You know the great Khali?
No.
Okay, so The Longest Yard with Burt Reynolds?
Right.
Okay, they remade the movie with Adam Sandler.
Sure.
Okay, so the guy who played Samson in the original was Richard Kiel.
Oh, yeah.
Jaws, right?
Sure.
The late.
The late one.
The
yeah.
late,
And
great,
so his replacement was Khali. The
Oh.
great
Yes,
Khali?
yes. Not much of a talker.
No, but
Yeah, I actually met him when he first came off the boat/bus from India, and he was trained at All Pro Wrestling in Hayward, which is where I got trained.
Okay.
So I actually worked with Khali. I managed against him. I actually managed him for one evening at what was called a light show in the garage, where the gimmick was I was going to be his agent, and he was going to become a major rock and roll singer. So I called him Dilip Van Halen.
How big is this guy now? How tall is he?
He's nearly 7 feet tall.
Wow.
It's like 6'10". And when he puts his hand around your hand, it completely covers it the way that like your hand covers a child's hand.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he's huge.
because he weighs what 400 almost.
Yeah, close to 350 pounds. And
Wow.
he's gained more weight. He used to be in really, really
Yeah.
good shape. He used to be a bodybuilder in India. That was another thing, is that he was a bodybuilder in India. He never really learned how to wrestle. He wasn't like, for the American folks who already knew that growing up. So he never was a very good wrestler. He's got a lot of size, and he's very impressive, but he really never learned.
Well, it's like Andre the Giant. I mean, all he had was his big boot.
Well, that's not true. When Andre was younger, he really did know how to wrestle. And there's early footage of him when he was like in his 20s.
Oh, okay.
And he used to be able to drop. No, he was rarely hard to get those matches. They weren't on TV.
Oh, okay.
But he could do drop kicks and head scissors and arm bars and things like that. But when he got older, the acromegaly that he had, which was the gigantism and the pituitary gland kept growing, his body just couldn't handle all that weight. So then he couldn't do any moves. Yeah, he never stopped growing. He never had it surgically removed. So his mass just kept him from being able to do any moves because he was just carrying. I mean, it's like carrying like half of a Volkswagen on your back.
That's got to be
like
so tough.
day.
Guy, just psychologically, and you walk around and in public and people are staring at you all the time. Yeah,
He drank a lot.
Did he?
Yeah, he was. In fact, he has.
Andre the Giant. You're talking about.
Yeah, Andre the Giant. Apparently, he has set the record for the most number of beers in one sitting, which I have heard is 200.
200 beers?
He would drink like an entire gallon of beer just for dinner. I mean, that's like that was like an everyday like thing.
200 beers.
Yeah.
Boy, I hope they let him go to the bathroom. You know, I don't know how you can.
He's 500 pounds. He's 500
yeah.
pounds. He can go to a lot of places.
And I used to like watching Haystack Calhoun.
Oh yeah, there's another
he
big
was
fella.
650 pounds,
Yeah.
and he wrestled 2 guys at once.
And he'd sit on him.
He'd say, and he couldn't really move too much. So
No, but that's believable. If you get sat on by a 600-pound guy, you're going to pretty much lose that match.
I was going to say that. How do these guys even be able to? How do you stage that? Unless he's hanging on to the rope while he's doing it.
Or if you, I mean, some of these guys can really tighten up their abdominals to the point where, I mean, I've seen guys have cars drive over their stomachs.
Wow.
You know, it's funny. A car drove over my brother's back one time.
Seriously?
But it did it so perfectly. He actually didn't get hurt.
That's exactly
And
it.
he was like 14 years old.
You can balance. It's all about balance, and that's where a lot of this comes in with wrestling too, is distributing the impact and distributing the weight so that you're not focusing it all on one body part. You have to land a specific way. You have to distribute all the impact and force over a large enough square area of your body. Because if you do fall on one body part, like your elbow or your knee, you're done.
And then these women, I mean, now women's wrestling is, well, of course, it's more of the MMA for them, you know, than it is wrestling per se.
Some of these gals are tough.
Very tough.
Rowdy, what's her name? She just got the
Rouse.
Oh,
Yeah.
Rouse, that's what it is.
Yes.
Okay, tell you what, we're going to continue on. We're going to get to our last commercial break here. In 1975, which Pittsburgh Pirate set a baseball record by going 7 for 7 in a 9-inning game?
I know that one.
Remember? Yeah, I remember. This one I knew you'd know. Okay, the first 3 emails with the correct answer are going to win that free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Email edward@sportsecon101.com. The answer to this question, in 1975, which Pittsburgh Pirate tied a baseball record by going 7 for 7 in a 9-inning game? Stay with us. Sportsecon 101. We'll be right back with some closing comments.
That's Rennie Stennett, wasn't it?
That's right.
Yeah. Rennie Stennett. Where the Giants
He played
signed him as a free agent, which was one of the worst moves they ever made because
Deion Sanders?
Well, that was another one that they shouldn't have made. Deion Sanders was good with the Niners, not with the Giants.
Armando Benitez?
I remember Armando Benitez, the last
good
game he
year.
pitched for the Giants, he saved the win, but he tore his leg. What was it? His hamstring.
Yeah,
as he was making the play, and the crowd goes,
Oh, that's
"Hey,
right.
great play!"
Yeah,
and he's like being helped off the field.
Yeah.
Armando Benitez. Yeah.
He did not care to be a Giant.
No.
You could just tell once he got in a Giants uniform.
Well, it's funny, the guy, and
it.
it's funny, those guys that didn't care, you know, you seem to have forgotten about some of those people that came here and Miguel Tejada was a nice guy.
Yeah.
Great player
Okay.
with the A's, but he was terrible.
Totally
as a
run
Giants.
down.
Yeah.
Totally run down.
Well, they give him
I thought that about Edgar Renneria, and then he goes on and wins the World Series.
Yeah, well, he had his one moment. He had his one big hit.
Yeah.
That's all he needed.
And,
Edgardo Alfonso kind of got ripped when he was here, but I always thought he was a decent player.
yeah, me too.
And Freddie Sanchez, he saved it for the right time. I mean, some of those guys. Aubrey Huff, Cody Ross.
And now we're going to unfortunately have to put Scudero on that list.
Scooter was on that list.
Yeah.
Yeah, hit 360 in the second half of the season.
And then nothing.
And then nothing.
Yeah.
But you know, hey, listen, I think
But we'll trade it for
we'll
World
trade
Series
it.
win.
Yeah, I think so.
Pat Burrell.
Pat Burrell.
Oh, yeah.
He had a great, several great
I
moments
heard
in the
he was
regular
kind
season.
of a...
He was kind of a dick.
Yeah.
Kind of a little, I wouldn't call him a dick, just you know.
And even Aubrey Huff.
Aubrey Huff he had a problem with anxiety,
Yeah.
and a terrible thing happened. His parents, either his mom or his dad, was murdered.
Oh, I didn't know.
When he was a child, so he
Wow.
was really traumatized. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he was messed up.
I just remember he got hurt during the celebration
Yeah.
when the Giants made the postseason.
Oh yeah.
Jumping up and down, he got hurt.
That happened to Dave Dravecki, who had,
that was really sad.
that was
When he
sad.
re-broke his arm
Yeah.
again. That was terrible.
Yeah.
All right,
Here we go.
Close it out here. Well, welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Last time on the show, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan. I want to thank our guest here, Buddy Sotello.
I could do this every week.
I know, but no,
You're a natural there, buddy.
You're
I
doing great
love-
stuff.
I
Good
love
stuff.
being on the radio talking sports.
Yeah,
That
no,
could be
it's
better.
great.
Talking wrestling. What could you do?
Talking wrestling. There you go.
Exactly. Hey, let's get to our last commercial break trivia question here. 1975, which Pittsburgh Pirate tied a baseball record by going 7 for 7 in a 9-inning game?
And that would be Rennie Stennett,
That
who
would be Rennie Stennett.
ended up with the Giants.
Yeah.
Briefly, and didn't do much with the Giants,
Yeah.
but off that one game, you certainly made some money.
That'll get your batting average.
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
So let's see here, buddy. You got 20 seconds to give us some fun wrestling information thing.
Well, I'd just like to promote the Wrestling for Charity organization, which is wwmwrestling.com, and you can also find them on Facebook, Wrestling for Charity. We're doing some good events coming up this year, so please check it out. And we'll be in the South Bay, but we're going to try to find a venue up here, maybe Petaluma or Santa Rosa, to do some matches coming up in the year, and we're looking forward to it.
All right. Want to thank you for joining us again. Always fun to have you. And here's our thoughts for the day. I have observed that baseball is not unlike war, and when you get right down to it, we batters are the heavy artillery. Who said that?
Yeah, you got me.
Ty Cobb.
Ty Cobb,
Okay.
one of the most combative players around.
Yeah.
And I have a wrestling quote for you.
Good.
Just when you think you have all the answers, I go ahead and change all the questions.
That's a good.
Roddy Piper.
Roddy
Roddy
Piper. That's
Piper.
good. I like that one. Okay. And Babe Ruth said, "Don't let the fear of striking out hold you back." Now that's from a man who struck out over 1,300 times.
Ooh,
I'll bet you I could strike out 1,300 times.
you tried hard.
Yeah, if I tried hard.
There you go.
Yeah.
In one game.
In one game. Yeah, in one game, exactly. All right, tune in next week to Sports Econ 101. We're going to be giving away more free vacations, and we're going to be discussing sports topics from a business perspective. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm your host, Edward Brown. We'll see you next week.
So long.